This is how I will fix things. This is how I will repair myself. Destiny is a tired and outdated concept, but I will take control. I will take charge and endeavour to change mine. I will make it new and real and exceptional again. I have spent far too long wading through oceans of loneliness, tides of despair, and allowing my mind to explain my own life to me. The black, the white, the happy, the sad. No colour, no life. I did not allow myself the enticing prospect of a wondrous future. I liked being sad. I wanted none of your enthusiasm, none of your joy, none of your sickening and delusioning positivity. I liked knowing that I was miserable and burdened with a crippling hate of all things, of anything, the smallest component of love. But I never thought to ask myself that if I was happy being sad, was there a chance I could be happier being happy? I was able to find an extraordinary level of comfort in the darkness, in the saddest corners of my mind. The demons I had willingly invited inside took no time in establishing their place as more than depressing dinner party guests, but instead as the friends I could count on to betray me in the end. Who can understand that my tormented thoughts gave me more alignment and understanding than any human I'd encountered in my lifetime? They all expected me to be terrified of my doomed state, but the truth was, I was terrified of losing the one thing that kept me centred, my pain. I was afraid to allow myself to be happy. Like destiny, we tend to ask ourselves if happiness is even real, or is it a myth? Is it as ephemeral as the things we claim bring it about? We never need to question our sadness, however, for we know that sadness is a truth that cannot be escaped or denied. We must all suffer before we dare to hope for the existence of happiness, as I have done now. I've spent my time living under the lie of a predetermined existence, believing that control was so far out of my reach that it became an impossible ideology, frequented by fools, endorsed by the shallow. Not I. I would never allow myself to become one of the shallow. For in my eyes, that was and still is a fate worse than death. For as my father says to me, it isn't my fault I'm an abrasive, cynical bastard, that I can't help but view the world through grey-tinted frames because I'm just like him. I am my father's daughter. But along with the cynicism he passed down to me also came the ability to write about it. So I will utilise both these gifts by using pen and paper to turn my consuming, sharp-toothed thoughts into narrative and song, into history. I like them better that way. Thanks, Dad.
And I imagine in my mind that my kisses are moving through my hand onto your hand. So maybe sometimes at night when I am not with you, you could hold your hand against your heart and feel them coming through.
Cutest thing I've seen ever! Pretty much ever! Alright, next up, ladies and gentlemen, we've already had Katie. So we won't make you get up again just yet. Not just yet. Next up we have Stella!
Okay, whoa. Running on adrenaline, opportunities keep on knocking. Who's there everywhere? Time allows for everything to happen in the now. How? I do not know. Clouds fill with light after resting in the depths of a navy's starry night. Yesterday turned out to be self-revealing. What I thought was injuring was actually healing. Left kneeling before the sky's tears, I remembered what it means to pray, ever now what may, be transformed by the invisible fire, incinerated by anger, the swelling of sadness, for the innocence, lost or stolen, from the young people I care for. It's incomprehensible, reprehensible, the damage others have managed to cause. It's a fraying, stinking tapestry of flaws, woven wrongs. Yet these young people, keep smiling and laughing, their eyes shining, their spirits so strong. Chest heaving, readying to cry, meanwhile I and time fly. My wings are sore, there's always more to do. I float above, soaring on a spiral of rising warmth. The confidence others have in me is luminous. Numinous narratives hover around my heart, massaging my mind, lines in kind. Clouds still fill with light, passing vapour patterns. The sky stopped crying. Blue is a happy colour too. And this happens now and then, when I don't know where to begin. Busy and dizzy, time to write, escaping, effacing my sanity. Flattered and scattered, flying, dreaming, spinning, heart screaming with joy. Employed in meaningful toil, cultivating different soil. New seedlings, balancing and securing. Darkness and light, growing and showing what comes from effort, acting with merit. Learning and discerning what's really important. The promise of verdant creative fields that will yield nourishment for the collective soul, whispering what it means to be whole. Growth occurs in all directions. Spirit concurs with wondrous manifestations. The loving destruction that is creation.
Pass at this.
Can you hear me? Is that am I quiet?
Quiet.
I'm so quiet all the time.
Talking to the microphone.
Thank you, that's better.
You can do it.
Angel of light, of sound, of sight. You shook, you shake, you woke and you awake me. We sit and sing and find therein a blossom which falls and grows and adores. She's the woman, the garden, the earth's every pardon. She swims in the sea and she is you, she is me. She's animal and mineral and everything edible. She's the ground and the sky. She is my sorrow and my high. We see her at times, our inside divine, but some never realise that we are her disguise. And to let her breathe, us within her weave, we release our sorrow and awake the morrow to find her petals on the floor, for she's within us once more. Our angel of love was never above, but she is within, and I wear her skin.
Yeah.
Sized. This is a poem for someone who couldn't be here tonight, but it's kind of about the way that she sees this world, and I really like that about her.
Talking to the microphone, Bill.
I've got love for the street artists of the shady past. It's so sad they have to cover their faces to get into the places to try and make this little city a bit less shitty. I've got love for the one-man band with no plan but to be upstand. Head high, notes low, soul lifted as time drifted. His tears are cried through song until the suited man moves him along. I've got love for those that dance the streets with their headphones and the soft beats. It's hard to moan when smooth tones are taking high stress and making sweet caress from the dirty mess that spills forth from the linen press. I cry when bad choices leads to no voices. When those that do it harder can't eat from the rich larder, kicked aside for the pride of the fast stride to the front line, where the brash cash, the fat cats, only serves best those with the tasselled hats. Power and wealth are not passion, it's not the packs that pay more tax. Don't you see your currency is worth less to me? It's the dark past with the bright hearts and determined march. They're my loves.
Talent tonight, it's great. Okay. It is times like these that I want to paint in detail and throw at those who ask me, why do you think you're still depressed? And it's time like these when I stare at a blank page for hours because my head is screaming words that don't exist, because my skin looks like a better canvas, and it's times like these where the wrong names fall out of your mouth and I'm left to decide whether I should still kiss you or not. And through the cold stone and the warm brick, the shower glass and the curtains, nothing feels safe anymore. I want to tumble dry my tears down staircases. This is what I warned you about. I need not remind you that this was coming because it always does. Please, let me write you 100 reasons why I am the way I am, but please, give me time because I'm still stuck at one. Words don't come that easy to me when I need them for myself, but if you are to ever need some, I will write you a fucking novel. I forget. Or at least I try, but if memory came and went as easy as it did for you, I would be an ocean with nothing to stop me. I would be a hurricane not worrying about the rubble. Consequences would be silent. And I will howl until the ringing in my ears sounds like your voice when you feel unimportant. We could just stand still for days and let the crowds orbit around us. Sometimes I experiment what it's like to disappear. I don't contact you for 7 days just to see what would happen. I blacked out that week. The days blurred into one like the hospital visit. Drip the words, I still care, into my IV. I want to hear you say you miss me. Visit me on my winter days. When they have me on so much drugs, I can't tell the difference between a bracelet and a blade, and I will promise you anything.
Sort of hoping I wasn't going to go this late, but yeah. I wake up squinting, sluggish and disorientated. That one. Feel sharp pain in the back of my head. Hangover, my old friend. Another night of overthinking and drinking clouds my mind, and I get only snippets of memory of the night that seems now so ever distant. I step outside, sit down on my porch and see a wintry blanket of whiteness. The cold breeze touches my sore, tired eyes and I'm forced to blink for a few seconds. I look back to the world in front of me and I watch as the ice melts and gives way to beautiful spring flowers stretching out towards the sun. The heat thickens now. I witness grass turn from a lovely green into a dying brown. I gaze to the trees around me. Their leaves start to shrivel and fall at a gust of wind. They dance their way through the air, flowing so gracious and freely. Time? It's irrelevant to me now. I care not for the days nor dates anymore. They are all but a blur to me through this glass bottle. I miss my family. Of course I do. But the constant barrage of judgment is too much for me and I can't stand being trapped for more than a few days. My friends are there for me, or at least I think I still have friends. I can hardly remember the last time I saw them smile or heard their laughter. And love? Yeah, I had that once. And I still remember how it feels. The thought of having someone that cares, having them cuddle, kiss, and make love to. A genuine someone you can share that moment with. Just knowing that they're all yours. You chose them, and they chose you. I remember the doubts, and the what-ifs, the maybes that bombarded my head every day. I'm sorry I drove you away, so far away from me. Thank you.
Everyone's stuff's been really nice, but Darcy told me I had to do something funny because my long poems are boring. Thanks, Dave. So this is about my friend annoying the shit out of me. You sip too loudly. You sip too loudly, and you always sigh. What have you got to clear your throat over? To vibrate with grating noise over, to sigh about over and over, because you can't get over it. Can't you get over how you're not getting under a certain hunk of human flesh for a sensual sesh? When you're itching to thresh, to enmesh, you're a mess. And while you're craving somebody to appreciate your shaving, someone to have slavering and slaving, I'm just craving comfort. I'd just kill for it, just for a fucking second of silence. But you sip too loudly. And you always ask questions, always investing and investigating oceans of emotions with notions of compassion when really your conscience deals in shades of ashen and just wants something to talk for trashing at a later date at the neighbour's gate or down the road getting a load of other people's baggage and bullshit and who's doing what because you're doing squat. What are you thinking? I'm thinking that I've got to keep blinking because if I don't keep blinking, I've got an inkling that I may do you unthinkable harm, okay? You sip too loudly and you just want to talk. Go for a walk, well, like want to fucking stalk the inner workings of my inner life, find out about my strife, find out about my brother or my brother's wife, about the kitchen knife, which I'm considering at this point, quickly stabbing with the point right between your ribs, just to make my point. And while in my head I scream obscenities and consider using the amenities to beat a heated retreat out that tiny window that serves simply to vent unpleasant scent and let a little light in, I muster external complicity. Considering the simplicity of screaming, will you just shut the fuck up? As loud as I can, just to stick it to the man, just to see if you get offended in the hope it won't be mended and maybe you'll shut the fuck up! And I listen to you witter about what you saw on Twitter, how it drives you up the shitter and the concept made you bitter, and I tell myself, don't hit her. And finally, you cease. Your noises just decrease until I perk up with the pleasure that comes beyond measure because I've finally reached my treasure. My silver, silent second. And then, you sip too loud.
This is a love poem, but I don't really do emotions very well, so it's a scientific love poem. It's often said that love's a complicated thing, romanticised by anecdotes of Montagues and Capulets. An art of balance, racing through short lives, we navigate our social lines. Even days each year, like Valentine's, we set aside for us to love more, keeping florists above the poverty line. How complex love can be, but it's not, at least for you and me. This delicate organ-filled machine that is me reacts to you in ever-changing ways. Small details of this shape, the form you take, determined by memories, the paths of neurons set in place to fire spurred by desire created by your allocated space. Existence relative to factors holding countless values mean that no one else, not even you, quite knows the person I know as you. Biology, the need to procreate, to breed, gave me the drive to seek you out, to fight for you, my mate. It's you with whom I'll join the evolutionary line. We'll build a safe place for our child, monogamous we'll be to better leave our mark on history. A mixture of our chromosomes paired 23, the payoff of our energy burned every day pursuing what fulfills our needs. It's you I yearn to see, an ache felt physically when I'm away, your composition triggering a flood of dopamine. Compensated imagery provides a range of sights and shapes and shades, photons streaming in to show a world translated by small rods and cones. The way light passes by us, some reflected, some absorbed by pigments, the keratin that forms your hair, the clothes you wear, or shape the waves that reach the brain behind my stare to let me know that you are there. The chemicals that grace us oh so naturally, without a single additive, sweet oxytocin's flooding in. Complex though it all may seem, our bodies love so easily. The only effort we need put in is to let ourselves get on with it. Stop complicating things, trying to seek out rationality. If I love you and you love me, the rest is all just chemistry.
For you tonight about Ophelia. So, Act 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Enter, daughter of Denmark, rose of May, complexion of a sunset, a mermaid sky, painted with a zero brush sky. Sweet soul Ophelia, sweet-blooded Ophelia, sweet nothing Ophelia. The anatomy of that sky was like the confusion of a zebra. She posed a question about the clouds, white on blue or blue on white. She found an answer, and a curious one at that. The white was a contemporary concept. Sweet soul Ophelia, sweet-blooded Ophelia, sweet nothing Ophelia, knotted crown of gold, fell into Arcadia, curled into a summer haze of straw-coloured music, singing a sick sweet song. Hear me now. You were for the record vinyl. You had me spinning an album of sweet surrenders, singing a sick sweet song, speaking like silence, breathing the same song. There's the sound. Sweet soul Ophelia, sweet-blooded Ophelia, sweet nothing Ophelia, found her young blood on the mid-morning moon, stained the colour of a shiver, the shoulder of a shadow's bruise, a watercolour ghost, sensitive the expressive, a mid-morning moon slave, like the echo of a xylophone in the violet hour, ringing and blooming. Hear me now. I would give you violets, but they have withered. Sweet soul Ophelia, sweet-blooded Ophelia, sweet nothing Ophelia, mine for her emotions, those two Alexandrite eyes and that one amethyst soul, minus treasure flowers too. He tended white and apricot roses, and that rose of May, stained with the colour of the perfume of under my skin. He loves me not. Hear him now, I loved you not. Hear me now. Terms and conditions apply to these violent delights, catching the meek in the worst way, with no armour against armour. Hungry, pining Ophelia, it's in amber now. Stain the colour of faded gold and pupils reducing. What does your soul look like? Sweet soul, sweet-blooded, sweet nothing Ophelia, we're in the winter now. It was a diamond pressed into carbon, there was zero brush sound. It was a shout that should be silenced. So it was. We're in this winter still, drowning in the winter still, stained the colour of a siren, singing and sinking below.
This is called The Nothings of Everything. It was built sort of upon a very small damage thing from college. How does one write the nothing inside to paper, commit one's heart when it is empty? Looking for answers, I turn hesitantly to the piles of the past, haphazard stacks of memories, clutter that's kept well out of the way. Wandering over, I pull one gingerly from the pile. It collapses. I watch frozen in horror as the pile collides with a second, and then another, and another. All the memories I had shovelled away come crashing down. The tiny scrap I was after now held forgotten in my fingers. They do not fall suddenly in a great thud, but slowly like autumn leaves. A million tiny pieces of white paper in an endless cloud. Some fall alongside others, but they are never on their own. All the feelings are still neatly paperclipped to them. From the top, those only ever acknowledged in a safe distance. Others from the very bottom that I foolishly thought had been buried forever. Nothing is hidden, each side showing as they tumble back to the bottom of my heart. Unable to focus on a single emotion, I can only watch without control, forced to feel it all. You can keep your mind busy, but there are very few things that will distract the heart. You can distract the librarian, but the books will pay you no attention. The other one is on a very tiny screen, so...
That's a Fantasyland sticker. Oh, yeah.
This one's called The Eyes of a Child. There once was a man who most of his life had tried to be who had tried to better the world and the people living in it. When he was young, his sense of justice frustrated him. Things would happen around him that he couldn't reach, that he wasn't able to be part of. People too ignorant and proud to see what they were doing. The ones that enjoyed what they did, and still worse, those that saw but did nothing. Everybody argued, fought and squabbled. He knew that it was natural, but why? And why couldn't he do anything to help? Looking back, he could only see why how small his voice must have sounded. Everyone older than him would hear him and say, "It's not that simple. We've been around a lot longer than you. You need wisdom." As he grew, he never forgot what was said to him, and he strived to become wise. But he found it hard to accept that simply because something was pointed out by someone younger, that it was any less true. Sometimes it may not be shaped the way that suited the problem, or may have sounded a little too simplistic, but that's just how children are. Though they often lack the finesse of the older generation and the command of the English language, things are just simple to them. Growing older taught him the things he needed to be wise, the words that helped explain better, what you should and shouldn't say to someone, the times to speak, mistakes made and learnt from, and the friends and social standing that you need to be truly wise. The stature and appearance of an adult helped too. At 6'2", people looked up to him. Now he had enough to make a difference. Surely now he could help the world, make it a better place. So he set out to do just that. He was there for everyone, rich, poor, close, friend, distant, young or old, getting wrapped up in each and every problem that they poured out. They became part of him, and when he saw the faces of those he helped, his heart was all the more lighter, bigger, fuller. He became those around him, bundling himself into their problems. But there were still those he could not help. Was it that he was still not wise enough? What had he missed? In frustration, he would try harder, making more mistakes, making the problems that he took on worse. In his head, he would repeat, "But I am wise now, I can help," all the time battling onwards. There was no time for himself anymore. His own problems would pile up with the promise of later. He thought back to when he was younger. The world used to be so simple, so easy to live in. What had happened? Why had the world changed? Or had he? Each decision you make, no matter how small, will change your life forever. It's not only the things we learn, but also those we forget that make us who we are. The head should be what guides the heart, but to do so, it should hold its hand, not shove it on ahead or drag it on behind. The simplistic view of the world that a child holds as fact shouldn't be frowned upon. Surely it should be seen as one of the things that make us truly wise. Sometimes life really is that easy.